My name is Caleb Whitaker, and on March 14th, 2018, my life changed in a way I never thought possible. What started as a normal morning, the kind where you're too busy to realize how fragile life is, became the day I would come face to face with death, and with something far greater than I ever imagined. That morning, I woke up early, rushing through breakfast and packing my laptop bag for an important client meeting across town. My wife, Rachel, was in the kitchen, feeding our son, Noah. I barely kissed her goodbye before stepping out the door, too focused on the day ahead. My mind was racing with thoughts about deadlines, invoices, and whether or not I'd make it to the meeting on time. I kept checking my watch, feeling that familiar pressure to stay one step ahead. Little did I know, none of those things would matter in just a few minutes. The drive through the city felt like a blur. I was stressed and distracted, constantly checking my phone at stoplights, scanning emails, skimming headlines, and sending quick replies to coworkers. At one point, I glanced down to read a text from my boss. That's when everything changed. I don't remember the impact itself. No sound, no pain, but suddenly, I was no longer in my car. I was above it, looking down at my own body, slumped motionless in the driver's seat. Blood was running down my face, and my car was crumpled from the side where a truck had smashed into me. People were running toward the wreck, some yelling for help, others dialing their phones. Yet somehow I wasn't scared. I felt calm, calmer than I had ever felt in my life. It was like something greater had taken hold of me, and before I could process what was happening, I felt myself being pulled away from the scene. I wasn't floating. I was being drawn, guided, towards something far beyond the world I had always known. At first, there was nothing but darkness. Not the kind you feel in a cold room, but a strange, heavy stillness. It felt like I had stepped into a void where time itself had stopped. I wondered if this was death, if this cold emptiness was all that waited for me. But before fear could sink in, I heard something. It was faint at first, like soft chimes echoing through the darkness, but the sound grew louder until it seemed to fill the space around me. The darkness started to shift, and then I saw it, a light. But this wasn't just any light. It was alive. It radiated warmth, love, and something far greater than anything I had ever felt before. I couldn't resist moving toward it. The closer I got, the stronger that feeling of peace became, and soon I realized I wasn't alone. Figures of light appeared around me, beings that felt familiar yet unknown. They didn't speak in words, but I knew what they were saying. Their presence felt like pure love, and I knew without a doubt that I was safe. Then I saw him. At the center of that light stood Jesus. He wasn't just a figure in robes like I'd imagined as a child. He was something more. His presence was overwhelming, filling the entire space with a love so powerful I could barely stand. His face wasn't like a portrait you'd see in church. It was more than that. But somehow, I knew him instantly. The moment he looked at me, I felt everything I had ever done. Every mistake, every selfish moment, every time I had hurt someone. All of it seemed to surface. Yet in his eyes, there was no anger, no disappointment, only love. A love so pure, so deep, that I knew I didn't deserve it. Yet he gave it freely. I felt stripped bare, yet somehow I knew I was fully accepted, fully forgiven, fully known. As I stood before him, Jesus spoke to me, not with words, but in a way that filled my entire being. His voice wasn't something I heard with my ears. It resonated deep within me, as if his thoughts were pouring directly into my soul. "You must see," he said. The moment he spoke those words, everything around us shifted. It was as if I had been lifted into another realm, one where time and space didn't exist the way they do on Earth. Suddenly, I could see the world below. Cities, nations, and countless people living their lives, unaware of what was really happening beneath the surface. I felt like I was watching the world through a different lens, one that revealed the hidden forces at work behind the scenes. Jesus showed me that the world wasn't as random as it seemed. Every major event, wars, political shifts, financial upheaval, was part of a much larger spiritual battle. I watched as unseen forces moved like shadows over governments and leaders, quietly influencing their decisions. What shocked me most was that one man seemed to stand at the center of it all: Donald Trump. I didn't understand at first, but Jesus revealed that Trump's presence was more significant than most people realized. I saw Trump standing at a crossroads, surrounded by powerful spiritual forces. Some of these forces were dark, filled with anger and chaos, while others seemed to be guiding and protecting him. It was clear that Trump was not fully aware of the role he was playing, yet his decisions were rippling across the world in ways no one could see. I asked Jesus what it all meant, if Trump was good or bad, if he was sent by God or if he was part of something dangerous. But Jesus didn't answer the way I expected. Instead, he said, "The battle is bigger than one man. Watch and see." His words made me realize that what was happening wasn't just political. It was spiritual. There were dark forces working to control the world through deception, division, and fear, and leaders like Trump were being pulled into this battle. Some knowingly, others completely unaware. Jesus made it clear that no politician, no president, no world leader had the power to fix what was coming. Something far greater was at stake. Then Jesus showed me something even more unsettling, something that felt far bigger than politics or world leaders. He turned my attention to the financial system, and in an instant, I understood that money itself was not what I had always believed it to be. Jesus showed me the US dollar, but it wasn't just paper or numbers on a screen. It was alive in a way I can hardly describe. I saw it flowing like energy, moving through businesses, homes, and governments, shaping decisions, controlling lives, and influencing entire nations. It was like a web that stretched across the world, connecting people in ways I had never realized before. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing. Money seemed powerful, the kind of power that could build cities, change lives, and influence global events. But then Jesus revealed the truth. The power of money was an illusion. It wasn't true power. It was a tool, something manipulated and controlled by dark forces designed to keep people distracted, afraid, and dependent on the material world. I saw people working themselves to exhaustion, sacrificing their families, their health, and even their morals, all in pursuit of wealth they believed would bring security. But Jesus showed me what was really happening. Behind this endless chase for money were spiritual forces, entities that used greed and fear to manipulate entire societies. Then I saw what was coming. The financial system, as we know, it wasn't going to last. Jesus showed me a vision of the future. Banks failing, markets collapsing, and people panicking as their wealth disappeared overnight. I saw people clinging to their money, desperately trying to hold on to something that could no longer save them. But what shook me most was what followed. A new system rising from the ashes of the old one, promised stability and security, but Jesus warned me it was a deception. People lined up willingly, desperate to be part of this system, yet they didn't see what they were giving up. They will be deceived, Jesus said, because they do not know me. I asked Jesus how people could prepare, how they could protect themselves from what was coming. His answer was simple but powerful. Tell them to prepare, not with gold, but with faith. Jesus warned that those who trusted in their wealth would be left broken and afraid when the system they relied on crumbled. But those who trusted in God, those who placed their faith in Him instead of material things, would stand firm when everything else fell apart. The time is short, He said. Tell them to prepare. When Jesus spoke those words, I felt a sense of urgency unlike anything I had ever known. His warning echoed through me, filling me with a deep understanding that time was running out, and most people had no idea what was coming. I saw flashes of the future, like scenes from a movie playing out before my eyes. Cities were in chaos, not just from disasters or war, but from fear, a fear that seemed to grip entire nations. People were desperate, scrambling to find something solid to hold on to, but the very system they had trusted, their money, their governments, their leaders, was crumbling right in front of them. I saw families broken apart, businesses closing their doors, and streets once filled with life now empty and silent. But in the middle of all that chaos, I saw something else. People who stood firm, completely untouched by the fear that consumed everyone else. These people weren't wealthy or powerful by the world's standards. They didn't have mountains of cash or high positions in society. Instead, they had something far greater, an unshakable faith in God. Jesus showed me that these people weren't afraid because their security wasn't built on money or possessions. It was built on truth, on something eternal that no disaster could take away. While the rest of the world panicked, these people stood strong, not because they had prepared with food or gold, but because they had prepared their hearts. Tell them, Jesus said again, His voice filled with urgency. Tell them to prepare, not with wealth, but with faith. I knew what He meant. True preparation wasn't about hoarding supplies or running away from the world. It was about trusting Him no matter what came next. Those who placed their hope in money would see it fail. Those who trusted governments to save them would be deceived. But those who surrendered their lives to God, who placed their faith in His power and not in the things of this world, they would endure no matter what happened. Before I knew it, the vision faded, and I was back in my body. I woke up in a hospital room, weak and confused, but with a message burning inside me that I knew I had to share. Since that day, I've seen the world differently. I see people chasing wealth, status, and control, all while ignoring the truth Jesus showed me. That's why I'm sharing this now. Jesus didn't show me these things to scare me. He showed me so I could warn you. The world is changing, and the things people trust in today will soon crumble. But there's still time to turn away from fear, from greed, from the lies that have blinded us for so long. Time to turn back to Him. If you're hearing this now, I believe it's for a reason. I don't know how much time we have left, but I know this. Jesus made one thing clear: prepare now. Trust in Him, not in your wealth, because soon only faith will remain. Don't wait until it's too late. Seek Him now, because the time is short and the choice is yours. If this message spoke to you, I encourage you to share it with someone who needs to hear it and to subscribe to this channel for more testimonies. Don't let fear control you. Let faith lead you. Jesus is waiting and the time is short. Make the choice today before it's too late.